it's 12 o'clock. Welcome to our national pain rounds. And we're going to launch this with Sylvia starting with our video. And then I'm going to turn the floor over to Dr. Rachel Bosma, who is going to lead us in the next hour to announce what the next amazing half a decade is going to look like in Canada. So I'll stop sharing and I'll pass it over to Sylvia to start the video. Chronic pain is such a complex disease, and it's super important that we actually de-silo the treatment that's currently happening. And we have so many aspects of care. We've got the mental health aspects, we've got the physical pain, we've got the emotional trauma, we've got all of these pieces that we need to bring together. And Canada is at the forefront of doing this and building these multidisciplinary teams to help patients move forward.
I was always taught in medical school to look for a pattern.
What I wish more doctors understood, I wish it was more of a holistic experience as opposed to you tell the pain and then it's assumed that the pain is caused by this.
Whether the cause of the pain is visible or not, what the patient report and feel should be validated, acknowledged, and treated adequately.
We're moving further away from that one-size-fits-all approach where we look at only the physical symptoms and treating with medications, manual therapy in my case as a physiotherapist, or exercise.
Into a more multidisciplinary approach to treatment of chronic pain. And really we're seeing that allied health professionals have an important role in early intervention and treatment of chronic pain.
And so with that momentum, I think we're doing great things in terms of becoming coordinated. The people with lived experience, the researchers and scientists, the clinicians, the people that deliver the clinical care, all coming together to say, hey, we need to come together and figure out what to do to make things better for people who live with chronic pain.
The patients have taught me everything about what it means to be a chronic pain physician, what it means to be a researcher. They've informed every aspect of what I do.
It's helped every day knowing that there is always something better.
I think the perfect pain service would also, just like any clinical skill, cultural competency and trauma-informed care would be huge parts of that and emphasized just as much.
I don't think it's because a lot of practitioners don't want to help. I think it's the lack of resources.
So chronic pain's just become a disease over the past couple of years, and I can tell you that when I look at the number of people we've brought together, look at the people in this room, look at the people online, we're at a specific point in our history where we can actually mobilize and affect change.
I would want to get rid of the myth that pain is something simple that has a root cause that we could just go in and fix.
The myth that pain is a static experience.
Really, I just want you to hear me out and see where I'm coming from and understand that my situation may not be the same as the person before.
Because I'm in a lot of pain right now, but I'm talking to you, I'm not showing it because it takes energy not to show it.
The problem with chronic pain is that we don't have effective treatment therapies available. Surgery is responsible for the second leading cause of chronic pain in society. So it has a nice opportunity to intervene to prevent chronic pain before it occurs.
Using technology as well, doing virtual sessions in areas where it's the resource is not as accessible, as well as putting videos on YouTube and whatnot, so patients have more access to these types of informations.
Before I was a disabled person, right? Now I'm a person with a disability, okay? Before my pain ruled me, now I rule my pain. That's how it's changed me. And the treatment has allowed me to do that.
So what brings me hope? What brings me hope is that we're actually sitting in a moment in time where our patients are standing beside us. We're not campaigning or we're not trying to mobilize by ourselves. And our voices are just part of it. And the strongest voices are those that are suffering with the disease. From coast to coast, we have programs, we have innovative individuals, all of our allied health folks that are coming together to treat folks living with chronic pain on a daily basis.
And I am very proud to be representing the Canadian Pain Society today.
I would like to welcome everyone. I am Dr. Rachel Bosma. I am a chronic pain scientist. I am situated at Women's College Hospital in the University of Toronto. And I have the privilege of co-hosting and co-chairing the National Pain Rounds alongside Helena Dutt and Bradley Kerr. And I'm so delighted to welcome you all to our kickoff National Pain Rounds of this academic year. And it's so exciting today because it marks the official launch of the Canadian Pain Society's new strategic direction. And we're going to be talking about what the future of this organization looks like and sharing what there is to look forward to in the year ahead. And so whether you're joining us on Zoom or if you're one of the almost 5,000 people who are right now on our live stream on our social media, we are so thrilled to have you all here to be part of this important conversation. And joining me today on this conversation are a panel of leaders in this space, and maybe they need no introduction, but I'm going to introduce them anyway. Alongside me, I have Dr. Hans Clark. You may have just heard him speak. Dr. Clark is the president of the Canadian Pain Society, and he is a self-proclaimed pain physician first and anesthesiologist second. So welcome, Hans, and thank you for being here. We also have Dr. Tanya Durena. Tanya is the president-elect of the Canadian Pain Society. She's also the medical director of one of the largest pain clinics in the world, the Toronto Academic Pain Medicine Institute. And we also have Virginia McIntyre. And Virginia is a champion and an advocate, a tireless advocate for pain care. She is the chair of the People with Lived and Living Experience for the CPS, and she's also the president and executive director of the People in Pain Network. And so welcome to each of you. Thank you for being here. And a couple housekeeping notes to our audience who's joining me. For those of you on Zoom, please feel free to submit any questions that you have in the chat throughout the event. We'll be monitoring and we'll be saving time at the end for a Q&A period. So please submit on the chat. We also invite you to join on camera. We recognize that for some of us it's lunchtime and I want to know what you're eating. So join us on camera. We'd love to see your faces, but please remain on mute. Quick other note, before you leave, we're going to put a link to a quick survey for feedback. We'd really, really appreciate it if you take the time, 1 or 2 minutes that it'll take to complete the feedback survey. It's super helpful for us. Okay, we're going to dive right in and talk about the strategic plan. So I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint presentation and walk you through to level set, and share with you what is a strategic plan of the Canadian Pain Society. So here we go. And just confirming that everybody can see my slides.
Yep.
Amazing. Thanks, Tanya. All right. And just to kick off to say, a lot went into this strategic planning process. The Canadian Pain Society is a member-based organization. And so it's critical for any strategy that it reflects the values and the goals and the ideas of its members. And so that's where we started. And so just walking you through the process of this strategic plan, because I had the privilege of facilitating this process. So really close to this process. We started with membership engagement. So we went to you all and we asked in survey format for you to provide input and give us insights into what you were thinking and what your goals and values were. We went beyond that. We conducted a number of interviews, focus groups. We spoke to many leaders of working groups, of task force, people with lived experience, researchers, trainees, clinicians across the board to ensure that many voices were heard through this process. We also connected with partner pain organizations in this ecosystem to learn from them about what they were thinking about the strategic direction of the Canadian Pain Society. We took all of this feedback. And I want to pause and say, thank you. Thank you to everyone who leaned in, who lended their voice and contributed to this plan. Everything was read, everything was reflected upon. There was lots of reports taken, and the board met to review all of this information, to share ideas, and there we drafted a draft of the strategic plan. We then presented the strategic plan in the June annual general meeting of this organization, where everyone could have a chance to look at it in its early form. We sent out an additional survey to hear from you again, and there we created the finalized plan that I'm about to put in front of you. And we're in the socialization period, so we're excited about this. We're sharing this with you, and we're talking the rest of today about how this plan is going to be actioned. All right, so without further ado, here is the plan. Leading with the vision of the organization. Pain understood, care transformed, lives improved. And it's really reflecting these key themes that we heard over and over and over again through this process. Our mission is advancing pain science and education to advocate for equitable, evidence-based care for all. And we have a number of pillars, 4 of them, that I'm going to walk us through. And a little bit of context here, these pillars are high level, 4 key things that this organization is dedicated to. We've then created goals under these pillars. These are the things that we want to achieve over the next 5 years. What you will not see here are initiatives. This is not an operation plan. This is not what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Our first strategic pillar is innovation. So accelerate the discovery and implementation of scientific advancements in pain. Our goals around this are to foster transdisciplinary collaboration, accelerate the uptake of evidence into pain care practice and policy, advance innovative pain research, and serve as a neutral convener and be a thought leader in the pain space. Education. Strengthen pain research and clinical expertise through ongoing education and training. The goals around this pillar are to empower and support learners, to promote best practices and targeted skill development for clinicians, and to build capacity in pain research by strengthening our expertise and our ability to do excellent pain research. Advocacy. To champion research, education, and best practices to transform pain care for all Canadians. Our goals here are to increase recognition of pain as a critical health issue nationally, to strengthen funding and infrastructure for pain research, and to partner as advocates. So to join other partner advocate organizations and to partner with them towards the integration, standardization, and implementation of pain education. And finally, engagement. Strengthen relationships and foster an inclusive, engaged pain community across Canada. Here, our goals are to deepen engagement within our membership, to support people living with pain as an integral partners in this organization, to expand and strengthen partnerships with networks, and to expand the visibility of this organization through focused communication. And then there's a couple things here that are absolutely core to this organization and everything that it aims to do, but we didn't fit them in one pillar or one bucket because they cut across all of these buckets and are even a driver of some of these things. And so I want to draw attention and name them. One being equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. This is a core thing for this organization, and we are dedicated and committed to seeing this thread through all of our goals and all of the initiatives that we undertake. Sustainability, to guide our commitment for responsible stewardship so that we can continue to strive and be a pain organization in the future and a pain leader in the future. And organizational consistency. So again, commitment to sustain and consistent organizational direction that transcends changes in leadership. And so with that, thank you for joining me on that whirlwind tour. That was a quick overview. We will look for other opportunities for you to really, sink your teeth into the strategic plan in the way that you want to, post it on your wall, look at it every day and think about it. But thank you for joining me alongside that really quick tour. If you're just chiming in, welcome to the more than 5,000 people that are online joining us. Thank you for joining this important conversation. We've just now looked at the strategic plan. This is a first release, you heard it here first, of the finalized strategic plan of the Canadian Pain Society. But we're going to spend the rest of the time today really hearing from the leaders of this organization to explore the why behind the plan, the why and the what, or what's next, and what it means for our community. And so I'm excited now to turn to our panel. We're going to start for some questions from our panel and our leaders in this organization. And then I'm going to look to the chat. So reminder, put your questions in the chat because we want to hear from the audience around what your questions are for the strategic plan and for the organization. So I'm going to start with the bigger picture. So turning to our panelists here, Tanya, Hans, Virginia, starting with what prompted CPS to embark on this strategic planning process at this moment? And building on that, why do you see this plan as a turning point for the society? So Tanya, why don't you start us off?
Thank you. Thanks for that presentation, Rachel. There's new leadership, and leadership changes very often at the CPS. And the new leader might be a doc, the next leader might be a researcher, a scientist, a health discipline. So we wanted to make sure that if we created a strategy, it wasn't leadership dependent, that it was created by the community, and it's the community that built it. And so we wanted, a strategy that focused on a holistic view that really brought people together. And so that's what you're seeing here.
Thanks, Tanya. Do you want to follow up on that, Hans?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Rachel, let's be clear. This is super important work. And, with the ongoing discussions that we are currently having, at the federal level, at the provincial level, there is, so much at play here. And if we're going to bring a community together, we need to assure what Tanya just said is accurate, that the leadership's aligned. This is a problem that costs our society 60 billion annually. And there's going to need an investment of funds to change this and change the tide of how things are happening. And it's not a small investment, it's going to be a big investment. And nobody's going to invest in our space if we're not aligned, if we're not cohesive, if it's not responsible, if we're not credible, if we're not driven with a purpose. And that's the only way we're going to be able to make change for the millions of Canadians struggling on a daily basis. And so without a strategic plan, a vision, and a coordinated and cohesive leadership, all bets are off. And so I think this is really a time of excitement. And I'm going to just step aside and say I'm going to promise that what you see in Quebec City is going to be another culmination of another year of efforts. We're having discussions with international leaders across the globe right now about blowing that 75,000 number. I want to thank the 5,000 plus watching live stream right now. This is a movement. We have people interested in what we're saying. And so next year, we're going to aim for 250,000 people watching us online. And you heard it here, because this is what we are aiming to do, is to really bring this leadership team and the next leadership team for the several years to the table to say, hey, we're going to fix this and we're going to do something to make this happen. So I'll pass it back to you, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that perspective. And just to say that really resonates, this idea of being really purpose driven. And we've put it down on paper, we're saying it out loud, and we're holding ourselves accountable to that. And that's so critical. I'm really curious, Virginia, looking more closely at the plan, I'd like to ask, what resonates with you, especially as somebody who lives with pain, what your thoughts are on this.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks for a great presentation and the invite to be here. Really, there is so much that resonates with me, but I think, first and foremost, it's proof that our collective effort is that we're doing this together. This is truly what's going to be making the difference, and it's really demonstrating that the people living with pain are directly helping shape the real world changes. I mean, other things that resonate with me is research and education. As someone who has had the challenges with healthcare providers and not knowing how to treat people with pain, seeing this as a priority within CPS is a powerful step in the right direction. For when clinicians have the right tools and knowledge, it changes everything for people who are living with pain. It means we're not feeling as misunderstood and dismissed. It means we're supported. And it's a huge step towards improving our quality of life. And I must say, adding to this, I have lots to say, but adding to this is, I think that CPS has really made a tremendous effort to ensure that they hear everybody's voices on this. So everybody's included in this. It wasn't just a survey, but they sent out multiple opportunities for people to share the perspective. And that's what is really important and resonates with me.
Thank you for sharing that and just echoing that to everybody, because a number of people watching online, we're part of this process, and we hope that what your ideas were and what you shared, you're seeing reflected back, because this isn't a plan for somebody else. This is a plan for all of us to drive this leadership forward. And so about that, more broadly, why should we be excited about this new direction? And maybe you want to kick us off with an enthusiasm, Virginia.
Sure, absolutely. Because people with lived experience are at the forefront. We're placing people with lived experience at the forefront to make sure that all our efforts, whether it's education, research, or advocacy, it's with us there at the forefront. And it means that things are grounded in what truly matters. It shifts the entire focus from academic and clinical perspective to the human one, making this work very meaningful and very impactful.
I just
Thank
going
you
to
so much,
chime in there.
Tanya.
Thanks. Sorry for cutting you off, Rachel. Thanks, Virginia. That's awesome that you said that. I feel like we can't ignore the political milieu right now, and I feel like this is the time for us to invest in Canadian products, like Canadian research, Canadian healthcare system. We really need to be leading right now. We can't be following. There's a lot of research that can't be done in certain countries, and we should take advantage of the fact that the world is watching us. With all the things we've been doing, all the initiatives that Canada has been doing, starting from the National Pain Task Force, and then last year, the landmark day of change that we had, where we had some international speakers come in and some policymakers. This is what we're doing to give people direction and to show people that Canada is a global leader in chronic pain. We can't forget that.
Thanks, Tanya. Hans, do you want to chime in? What's there to be excited about?
Dr. Perr just tipped me off that from the airport in Saudi Arabia that there's over 6,000 online. So thank you. I just want to keep giving a shout out to the folks that continue to tune in and listen. And I want to build on what Tanya just said, actually. So, when you think about the 600% increase in individuals wanting to come into our healthcare system from down south in particular, that says something. That says something that we can have the best and the brightest, and we can continue to move this forward in the next 5 to 10 years. And I want to echo what I said in the hour previous for those that were watching then, is that, we have industry partners coming to us now, and pain has come back into that limelight of new therapies, new drugs. James Conn talked about invasive therapies. We're talking about non-opioid medications. I called out Vertex on CBC a few months ago, and now they're putting something in, and hats off to them. That's fantastic that they're coming to bring some of these new drugs to the Canadian public. And the fact that the cannabinoid space and some of those results of that RCT, everyone stay tuned on Monday for some really cool stuff in that space. And so we as Canada need to continue to lead, and we need to lead from our science first, from our basic scientists and our physicians, and in partnership with our patients. And that is clearly what we have created in this ecosystem. And so I think from a provincial and federal perspective, they're seeing this, and they're seeing this movement.
It's such an exciting time just to reflect on that. It's an exciting time to be a pain scientist like I am, but to be in this pain ecosystem, because there's momentum here, right? And you see the energy and the enthusiasm, you see people tuning in, and we've got, thousands of people watching online right now. And that's important because it demonstrates engagement and interest in this and momentum in this space. But I'm curious around, we've talked about the strategic plan, we've put this out there, but a plan is a piece of paper. So how are we going to turn, the vision into action? This is the first year under this new plan. What can members look forward to? What is going to happen in the next months to come from the CPS? Maybe Hans, you can kick us off.
Okay, first and foremost, I think I touched on it earlier. So we're going to be having our meeting in Quebec. We spent all summer working on that so that it will be a success. We're going to have hopefully some good hotel deals in Quebec City. It's a beautiful city. It's got so much culture, great restaurants, and like I said, we're aiming for a really unique Friday in particular, where where Tanya will become the president and continue to lead this organization forward. And I'm hopeful, like I said, that we'll have such an international presence at that meeting. We've invited our keynote speakers, both on the science side, and we've got a couple clinical ones that we're thinking about, especially given some of the announcements that will happen next week. And National Pain Rounds. Look at this. This is our inaugural National Pain Rounds for the year. We have over 6,000 people live streaming in to see what we're talking about. We have the entire schedule set up from now till June. I will say, Helena, be ready. We may have to juggle some things. If we have some really hot topics and we have, perhaps a minister or two wanting to come chat with us, we may need to make some juggles to the schedule. So, think about that as we roll forward, and think about, one of the next CPS particularly led National Pain Rounds in November after National Pain Awareness Week will be the unveiling of our equity and diversity survey that we did for our membership. And so I will look forward to that. I know that Rebecca Pillai-Riddell is talking next month about involving disadvantaged populations in research for pain, et cetera. These are all key Canadian topics. These are, as you and Tanya and Virginia have said, areas that we get to lead. This is important work that will not die, and we'll be the ones supporting it. I just want to talk about some of the new trainee initiatives that we're coming through. The caliper rounds will continue. We're looking for a new trainee rep, and so that will be announced. And I want all of you to really think about, how you're going to really participate in this. We've got some elections coming up. We'll need people to step forward for things like that. We've created a new medical legal special interest group. There's going to be some webinars. They're thinking about doing a half day either before or after our meeting in the fall. And this is something that many societies do. And we're open to having a lot of these kind of sessions and symposia as we roll forward. The caliper rounds, I think I mentioned, are continuing. Those are trainee-based rounds to take a look at the literature. I know that Massey's running some with IASP as well from a trainee perspective. So the CPS is no longer a meeting organization. It is a part of what we do, and we are leveraging all of the great people in our organization to continue to build out this ecosystem in Canada.
Thanks, Tanya. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, for sure. We're already getting the ball rolling on this academic year. I don't want anyone to forget National Pain Week comes up in November. So to start thinking about that, and we're trying to amplify and support some of the work being done by Pain Canada, working together with our alliances. That's what we do as Canadians. We work really well together. We're working with the CPCOE to look at women and veterans pain. We're trying to organize a roundtable, so please stay tuned for that. We know 70% of those 6,300 people watching are women, so we are definitely going to try to target a lot of women and women-centered pain issues. We are looking to fund an embedded stream in our Indigenous folks, looking to take care of all people with pain and marginalized folks. We're trying to inject new, Hans talked about pharmacological therapies and some interventional therapies, and that's all really exciting. But we can't forget about some of the innovative psychological therapies that our psychologists and our mental health workers, social workers create. So trying to look at what's happening in that space. We have some new leaders, really engaged leaders in our interprofessional SIG. And we're going to have a lot of momentum in our health discipline part of chronic pain care as well. So that's really exciting for me.
Amazing. So many exciting things. Virginia, what are you excited about?
Well, there's so much, and Hans and Tanya have shared so much. This really is going to be an incredible year, like they shared so much. And I think with everything going on, what really means we are at the cusp of seeing real improvements. And that means improvements in patient-centered care. We're also, going to see the voices of people with lived experience amplified. So what we seen last year in Toronto, the number of PWLE we had present and the presentations we were involved in and the training sessions we are involved in, we are just building on this momentum. So I think there's a lot to look forward to this, and this is just going to be one
Amazing. I agree. Echoing that. Incredible year. So many things. I'm taking notes in the background of ways that we can engage and we can share more about that because there's lots to do, but there's lots of space for people to lean in. And Tanya, you mentioned this, and I wanted to expand a little bit more, but the ability to connect and the importance of being a connector in this ecosystem. Excuse me, how do you see our strategic plan strengthening the connection between research, clinical care, the realities living with pain, really bringing people together? Tanya, do you want to, pick up where you left off on that topic?
For sure. Like I think the best example probably last year was when there was that luncheon between some of the learners and people with lived and lived experience, and really learning from each other what we should be studying. So I think when we surveyed our community, we realized that people love the fact that CPS brings folks together, and we have to play on that strength. Creating these webinars with folks with lived experience, with veterans, with researchers, scientists. I think this is our strength, and we have to keep doing this. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Hans, do you want to build on that, add anything to that?
I mean, the only thing I'd say is, we're being reached out to now, and we're being reached out to from all levels. And so I know we have the possibility of doing a specific pain and substance use meeting with Health Canada, and Maria and Pain Canada will be part of that as in partnership with the CCSA. So a lot of the things we brought up at that landmark day of change last year, where we really had a focus on some of these things, are being listened to, are being heard. We're creating and breaking down the silos for some of these marginalized populations so that we can start to create, new care pathways, new treatment pathways. And I think, these things don't happen unless we are connected, cohesive, and coordinated.
Love that. The alliteration plays nicely. We need to be connected, cohesive, and we need to work together. That's amazing. We're talking about this, this plan. We started when I presented this plan. I said, hey, look, this is a membership-based organization. We need to engage the members. It needs to reflect the values, the goals, the ideas of its membership. And I think we really brought that to life in what's on paper. But this doesn't happen. We don't meet these goals. We don't work towards these goals without members. So what role do you see members themselves bringing into this, bringing this strategy to life? And Virginia, maybe you can touch on that from your perspective as a member.
Sure. I think our members play a real pivotal role in creating a network for everybody. So PWLE are connected to researchers, they're connected to the community works, the organization. So we're all connected. I mean, if you don't have us there at the forefront, then the work's not relevant. And this is why will be relevant. And it helps secure that meaningful and change and really drive change. Collaboration is critical. And I think that's a big role that members can play. I also like to point out that, we have, and I've talked about PWLE, we're here. And what's happening, 3 years ago, the level of PWLE involvement wasn't the same. It was barely the same. But today, we're truly integrated into CPS and making a difference. We're have the PWLE committee. We are on the committees within Canadian Pain Society. We're part of the annual scientific planning. We're helping guide research. We're actively participating in knowledge dissemination. We're here. I'm here at the table today. So I think this is bigger than just CPS. Our work really is catalyst for the entire research community.
Amazing. And thank you, Virginia, for being here, because it's members like you that, we show up and we lean in and we make these goals reality. And I think it's so critical to, reflect on how we create spaces for people and then how we let them lead in those spaces to advance all of these goals. Hans, do you have any reflections on this in terms of the roles of membership?
Well, I want to make sure that everybody understands that we have some really powerful patient with lived experience partners, right? We have Virginia, we have Jennifer, we have Keith. They've just put out a new podcast, right? I know that supported by various organizations, the CPN in particular, and so I want to really say that we have leaders. We have leaders in the space across all kind of domains and dimensions. And I want to give a shout out to Jennifer Daly-Sear. She's now been chosen as a Mayday Fellow, right? Another one of our PWLEs in Canada that is a North American leader, not just a Canadian leader. And so that doesn't happen without this ecosystem and supporting it and driving it forward. I really want to make sure that we, and I'm a big policy guy and big thinker, but this only continues on. And this is something I continue to say, and I hope our basic science colleagues listen. That's the start of this organization. Without the science, without the new molecules, without the new technologies, we don't get here. And Yves de Koninck said it best last year at our landmark day, that he says basic science is directly linked to policy. And don't get caught in the weeds that it's not. It is totally where we have to land, and what we have to continue to support is our basic scientists. And to change this $60 billion ecosystem and infrastructure is going to take a lot of money. And that money is going to flow in many different places, and it will always land with where the science starts and where it has to go. And I guess finally, it's just a plea to the membership. And it is really the membership that drives this organization and will continue to drive the ecosystem in Canada. So we're very lucky. We have really strong members across all platforms. And thank you, is all I would say, is thank you for your engagement. Thank you for being part of this.
Amazing. So let's leave it off there and just end on, how can people be part of this? People are already part of this. People are doing so much. What are more things? What are different things that people can do? And, what's one thing that you want to leave every member with after today to help drive this vision forward? Maybe Tanya, you want to lead us off on that. One thing.
Just one.
Well, one or two.
I want you to tell your friends, like join, strengthen our pain research, strengthen clinical care in Canada. So join the CPS. If you belong to some American pain societies, it is now the time to invest in Canada, to buy Canadian. Tell your friends. You'll look younger, you'll feel better. I'm kidding. That may not happen, but look at Virginia. She looks awesome. And so just tell your friends, come and join the Canadian Pain Society. Health disciplines, please, we need your voice. It doesn't just happen. So if you've got a team and you've got psychologists, social workers, OTs, physios, please just come and join us so you can have a voice, so we can create some guidelines and some excellence in those domains as well. So tell your friends.
Thanks, Tanya. Virginia, what's one action item you want to leave everyone with?
One action item. Okay. I'm going to build on Tanya's. Yeah, this is going to be an incredible year. This is really a pivotal time to be involved and join. And that's includes people with lived experience. And, and kudos to Canadian Pain Society. They've been committed to making this a reality by implementing a tiered pricing for the membership so that people can join. So this is the time to be a part.
Amazing. Hans, over to you.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Virginia. Tiered pricing, still one of the cheapest societies you will ever join. So take a look online. But we are the best. And so when we think about, what we need to do and what we need to get done, it really just means showing up to these events and showing up to the networks and telling us what you want. I don't think there's anyone who can say over the last 3.5 years, with John, myself, and now handing over to Tanya, that we haven't been responsive to the needs of what's been asked for. And so if you want something changed, if you want something different, let us know and we'll do our best to make it happen. We're here to serve, not here to lead only.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that.
One more tidbit, and sorry to cut you off. I just want to mention, we are open to accept symposia, so hand some in. When the poster call out comes, add in your posters to the next scientific meeting. Symposia will be going, applications will be going until October 20th. So please, please, please get in those symposia so we can have a great meeting.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So lots of things, lots of ways you can plug in to everybody online. There's more than 7,000 people online. We'd like you to all be members. Join up, join in, lean in, help be part of this momentum that we're building here, because this issue is critical and we all need to be part of the solution. We're going to turn over to the Q&A portion. So thank you to everyone who's been putting questions in the chat. We're reviewing them in the background. We're trying to get everything as we go. While you do that, there is a survey. I asked you very nicely at the beginning, please take time to fill it in, to just give us feedback, because as you're seeing, I'm hoping you're seeing throughout this talk, we take membership feedback seriously. We want to know what everybody is thinking. This is a member-based organization, so we want to hear from you, and this is another opportunity for you to provide that feedback. So turning it over to the questions in the chat, and I'm going to kick off with a fun one. So a lot of enthusiasm. We've announced Quebec City. Everybody's, excited about this. Can you tell us more about the Quebec City meeting? Who wants to kick off? What can we expect? We've got some deadlines. Look for symposiums. What else?
Yeah, I think Tanya gave it a shout out. So obviously those deadlines are post IASC. You know, many of our members are IASC members. We know we're a chapter of the International Association for the Study of Pain. So that's why we've highlighted that. There will be, again, pre and post symposia. And Tanya gave a shout out to the Allied Health. And I really want to shout out Victoria and Elise because they are really engaging with our Allied Health community and looking to put together content for them at the meeting next year. Tanya also gave a shout out to the Indigenous stream. And so I know Patricia Poulin, Lisa Richardson, they have really been the leaders of this space and they're working on potentially putting together a stream throughout the CPS with related to our Indigenous colleagues. And that's something that both Tanya and I will fully support. When we look at, you know, the medical legal SIG, there's also those things and the great restaurants and just the great, you know, sorry, but we will be having a very big gala again. We moved away from that last year, but we will move back to it again next year. And so that will be part of our meeting. And lots of fun things, lots of social things. We get together because we want to socialize. We heard that there needs to be time for social gatherings and meetings, and we really created a lot of time for that in Toronto, and it's something we'll try to build on as well. In Quebec City, we're ending, just so everyone understands, midday Saturday. There will be some post meeting, obviously SIGs and things like that happening. But that's so if you want to stick around and enjoy Quebec City on a Saturday, or you head back to your family for Sunday, you now have that opportunity to spend that extra evening and socialize there without being worried about the early meeting on the Sunday, etc. So, you know, we've moved it a little bit into the week and not fully on the weekend. We know that there's a balance with our basic scientists and our clinicians, and so we're trying to make everybody happy with next year's meeting. And we've already got some engagement from obviously industry and you know, the government and things like that, and some local fun stuff that'll be happening in Quebec City as well. So I'll pass it on.
Amazing. So many exciting things. And that's the picture. Stay tuned. Look at the website. Announcements will be going out in the background to keep apprised. And I think it's also an opportunity. And I hope everybody sees this as an opportunity. You know, you want to see a meeting look like X, then lean in and submit symposiums. Bring your students, reach out to your colleagues. If you want more of this, you know, topic of interest, then, you know, be a leader in that space and invite and reach out so that that's all reflected, because there's so much to talk about and we want to do that. We're creating that space to do that here.
Great. That's the next question. I want to make a pitch. The one thing I say this year too is the fourth year we're going to be able to give the PWLE Leadership Award. So this will go out, I'm not sure when, but watch for it and nominate the great PWLE there in your community and research who are doing work. So keep an eye out for it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So many things, you know, stay tuned. Don't let those emails pass you by, because we don't want you to miss out. There's lots happening here. One of the questions from the audience, it's great to hear that the CPS is involving all its members and highlighting our strengths in the pain space, but how can you share, or how will you share the great work that everyone is doing? Can you just give us a highlight reel on how that can be to connect us in that way?
So I think, you know, one of the big kudos we've received in the last 3-4 years is the impact of our communications team and how great it has become, right? We have a huge social media presence now. We have obviously our newsletter that goes out, but we are in the process of, if you're engaged with us and you're a member, you must be a member to leverage this, I'm sorry. But members get to have the infrastructure that we create. And so if you want to disseminate your amazing work, be a member, and we'd be happy to disseminate your amazing work. Those are some of the things that, you know, people want a lot, but you also have to be a part of the ecosystem to get a lot. And so, you know, and maybe Tanya will not be as strong as I am in terms of that, but that is something I've always said. I said, if you want to have a message, make sure you're a member, because then you can send out your message, and that's how it works.
Yeah, and don't forget to participate, right? We have national pain rounds that I know you're co-chairing with Brad, Rachel. So, you know, this year's full, but in next year, if you have any ideas or things you want to see, there's another opportunity there. The caliper rounds, if you have publications you want to talk about, there's the caliper rounds. We have the pain medicine, the trainee rounds in the afternoon after our national pain rounds. These are all places where you can tell us what you want to hear about, what you want to see, or highlight the work that you're doing. And then, of course, our annual scientific meeting. This is a place where you put in your symposia, your posters, and like I said, tell all your friends to come. Buy Canadian.
A question about funding. Can't end a session like this without a question about funding. But it's such a reality. Funding for pain research is limited in Canada. So what is CPS thinking about action items to increase access to funding? And then there's a follow-up question related to that. So funding for research, but then also engaging funding towards clinical care.
So, this is a hot topic, and I know I see Maria online here. I see Norm. I see, I think Katie. I don't know if I saw her, but Abby, man, there's a whole bunch of folks that we are again collectively going to be having those discussions with respect to the gap that we see. Not everybody agrees that the gap is as wide as I see it. Having said that, we will do this gently. We will do this amicably and hopefully, move the needle. We're not expecting to close the gap in one go. But I think, again, if we do this collectively and engage with the appropriate stakeholders, we can start to increase the funding that is, as we all know, pretty low in a space that costs us more than about, 6 major diseases combined and affects 20% of the population. And so it's going to have to happen. It's already mobilizing in that direction. There has been some movement of the needle, and we're just hoping that we can continue to move in that direction from a funding perspective.
Thanks, Hans. Anyone want to add anything to that or share anything?
Just say hi to the 8,000 now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think we can, I'm looking through our questions here. We've covered most of them. I think one last thing is, how are we going to maximize this momentum in the ecospace? How are we going to maximize the efforts that we're all making and wearing our various hats in different spaces to really drive evidence-based care? So really thinking about the partnership space, anything you can comment on, how we're going to work and play in this ecosystem in partnership to really drive the change that we need to see.
Yeah, I think we've been saying this a lot, but showing up to meetings, showing up, being a part of, and this plays into provincial funding. In Ontario, we are very lucky. Our province is very good to us, but we show up. We sit with the folks that are in charge of those funding envelopes, and we tell them what the issues are, and they listen. And so showing up and being interested, it's not, we're not just here to complain about stuff, about the lack of stuff. We have lots of gratitude for all the things we do have, but showing up and showcasing what we're doing. I think that's the most important thing.
I would say that this is all bi-directional, right, Rachel? And so we're not only the ones reaching out, there are folks reaching out towards us. And I think when I took this president position a couple of years ago, I said, look, we're open for business and we're open to interact and engage with anybody that's focused on improving the lives of Canadians living with pain. And we have held true to that. There isn't a door that I haven't opened for somebody that wanted to talk about changing the infrastructure, improving care, providing funding, providing money, obviously with the safeguards in place that we are doing it above board and ensuring that integrity and honesty is always at the forefront of what we do.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And so any last minute things that we want to share with our audience before we wrap up for today and everybody fills in the survey before they get a couple minutes to carry on their afternoon?
I'm just going to share one thing is people with lived experience, you are part of this conversation. And as Tanya should continue to show up and reach out. We are just breaking the ground with this.
Anything else? Wonderful. So it's so nice to connect with you all. I want to thank everybody who is online, everyone, in various rooms, virtual rooms, this room here. Thank you to everybody who came and has offered insights and questions in the chat. As it is, we don't get to all of them, but we want to hear from you. The door is open, as Hans has said. Please make sure if you didn't get the answer to the question that you have, that you don't feel like it's a dismissal, but instead an invitation to lean in, join in, ask again. We're here to work together, and we're so excited for this new direction that we're taking. So I want to thank our panelists. Thank you, Hans. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you for sharing our insights and helping bring this strategic plan and this strategic direction to life. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Stay tuned. There's so many things going on. Look to the newsletter, look on the website. It's time to start building symposiums. It's time to start getting our colleagues and really shape the meeting that we want to see, because the voice in the room is the voice that gets heard. So to Tanya's point, showing up, being part of this. We heard today so many different opportunities. Elections are coming, leadership opportunities, trainee roles were identified, new working groups around medical legal. There's a new Indigenous stream. So there's lots of continuing spaces and there's lots of new spaces. And if you see a space, create a space, because we all need to work together to really push this agenda forward. And so again, just thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Stay tuned, look at your email, and enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. Take care.
So you're not getting off that early, Rachel, because there's no way this ends without us thanking you. And the amount of work you put into driving this, the amount of work you put into building the strategic plan, we were in great hands. And I really just want to say thank you. And the membership wanted to say thank you for all the work you did. You really did an amazing job.